This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
We need to check in with Cameron because he is president of the Preston Williams fan club. So I'm sure right now he is depressed. And it was just a couple minutes ago we passed 10:20, so that means it's 4:20 somewhere. So Preston Williams, have
That's
fun
good.
there, enjoy yourselves.
That's good.
How depressed are you right now, Cameron?
It's a rough day, right? I didn't know there was a Preston Williams fan club.
You're the president. I don't know. So I've heard you're the guy that takes
president?
memberships and stuff. Yeah.
I don't think I am the president.
You print the shirts. Apparently, he was part of the Wolfe pack or something. I don't know. That's rumors. Rumors.
I don't think that's the case here. I will say I did think that Preston Williams as a rookie was going to be a player in this league, like a lot of folks. I still remember Xavier Howard telling me he was going to be a true number one receiver, and here we are 3 years later being released. So that's like a lesson of the NFL.
I hope he grabs the Chris Carter story.
Yeah,
and I hope he understands that because I was just talking about that before you came on. He's blessed. The Lord blessed him with abilities, bro. And it's all here with him. It's all here. When he had that fumble, his body language, just walking away, just kind of told you the story. And that's that's what gets you cut, and that's why you're not focused all the time. That's why there's drop passes, and that's been something predominant in his game for 3 years now. It's funny when he says, well, I'm not getting chances. And I'm like, dude, you're in year three of an undrafted player. How much more chances do you want, man? Only first round picks get 3 years because you're tied to their damn salary like Noah right now. That's why he's here for year 3, because they're tied to his salary. But you, an undrafted player, working on year 3, dude, you've had a lot of chances. A lot of chances.
Yeah, so I'll start it with this. Like, I hate cut day just from the dynamic of a lot of dudes losing their job, their livelihood. Some of these guys may never play football in NFL again. Like, that's just the way it is. But I do say, like, for guys, guys like Preston, it's kind of a sad day because, like you said, the talent is there. Like, there's no reason why he shouldn't have made this team, but you can only do what you do on the field. And so he didn't play well enough this offseason. He talked about opportunities, but every time we saw him get an opportunity, he didn't take advantage of it. And so it's not a shock to me. Him or Lynn Bowden, I thought Bowden had a little bit better chance than Preston, but both of them getting cut is kind of a situation where, hey, their performance didn't really add up to what their talent or what their prestige was. And, it's a new coaching staff. So the coaching staff doesn't care that, hey, you did this in 2019, or for Lynn Bowden that they traded a certain pick for you because you were a 3rd round pick. Like that doesn't matter. We just saw the Vikings cut Kellen Mond, who they drafted in the 3rd round last year. It's a new regime. If you're not a player, you're not a player. And so that's the cutthroat element of the NFL. But that's the one element I do appreciate is that it is, in some instances, truly the best man wins in these type of situations. And so for Preston and for Lynn, they weren't the best men.
Yeah, yesterday when we had Poupart on, we were talking about that if you're honest with yourself, Craycraft is the better receiver right now than Lynn Bowden.
Yeah.
But I thought Bowden might make it over Craycraft simply because of the special teams.
Right.
Because I don't know who else you're going to use outside of 2 guys named Hill and Waddle. And I don't expect you to use those guys on a full-time basis. So who the hell is going to be the returner? And so that tells me there might be a trade or something going on, because now that you cut, Lynn Bowden Jr., then where are you going with your returner? I don't know who the hell the returner is right now for the Miami.
I could see them looking in the waiver wires. I've seen
Right.
some teams release some returners, and that could be an option there. What'll be interesting for me is what they do with the remaining two receivers. We haven't got word yet with Craig Kraft or Sanders. If they get rid of both of those guys, I don't imagine they keep both of them. Maybe they
I
keep
think
one.
I think Sanders will be released to try to get onto the practice squad,
right? And I honestly think that he makes it through to the practice squad. But honestly, there's a situation where Craig Kraft is a veteran. He could be on the practice squad as well. And I do believe he probably would get through to the practice squad as well. And so, you know,
unless San Fran gets injuries, then they'll steal him back.
That is true. That is true. But I do, you know, the new rule is you can elevate two players a week to the 55-man roster. And so if you have a guy like Craig Kraft and you feel like you need to use him early, you can still elevate him and use him on game day if he's on your practice squad. So part of me does wonder.
Because Skyler will be the other one.
Right.
Every week.
Right. so yeah, no, Skyler's probably making the 53.
Yeah, but I mean, he might be one of those. Oh, that's true. It's not practice squad.
That's right. Skyler probably make the 53. Yeah, so you don't have to elevate. That's just for practice squad.
That's right. Yeah. So he'll probably be active too. I bet they'll keep him active.
So what's interesting there is, like, if you do find that returner, you could bring him in, quote unquote, your sixth receiver, but really he's your return specialist. And,
are they still doing the emergency quarterback thing?
They're not. So you can have as many quarterbacks active as you want, but most teams still have two active. There's no emergency quarterback deal. So yeah, I still imagine Teddy will be active and Skyler will not, but you know, you'll kind of see how that goes.
I thought you would keep Skyler active just for like Hail Marys or something like that. You know,
I guess, but if you're paying Teddy Bridgewater $6.5 million, he at least should be your guy that if somebody gets hurt.
He's your guy for quarterbacking.
Right.
Skyler should be the guy you use for whatever gimmicks or anything you want to use.
Yeah.
And especially like New England used to have a kid named Michael Bishop that would come in and he would just heave the Hail Mary because he was a small kid from, by the way, Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I remember, Michael Bishop was also Kansas State, just like Skyler. And he would come and dude, he was like I don't know if you remember Michael Bishop, but he was like a 6-foot quarterback, not a tall quarterback. But my Lord, that young man had a cannon, bro. He would just unload a deep ball, you know? So that was he was kind of that guy that Belichick was trying to use as a wildcat, all that other stuff, but it never really developed because he had a very erratic arm. Even though he was super gifted, the arm and the athleticism, he was like, you know what Michael Bishop was? Like an incredibly poor Kyler Murray.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like really poor Kyle Murray. Like a broke ass Kyler Murray living, I don't know, 8 levels under the ground or something. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. So just kind of running around kind of wild out there.
Yeah. Not nearly as gifted as Kyler Murray is, because I'm a Kyler Murray fan. I think he has it. You know what I mean? It's not all there yet, completely polished, but I think he's a pure passer, and that's one of the things I like. All right, so the Bowden cut. Any other cuts surprise you?
Not a ton. They cut their 7th round pick, Cameron Good. I think we talked about him
that's one that surprised me
last week, and Brennan Scarlett, who made the team last year. And so they cut both of those outside linebackers who I thought had a chance to make the team. I think the big thing there, they signed Trey Flowers. And so when you sign a guy like Trey Flowers, that takes up a roster spot. And so they're hoping that one or both of those guys will make it to the practice squad. Brennan Scarlett also had a foot injury over the last couple of weeks, so that hurt his chances. So that's that. Some people will be surprised by Solomon Kindley because he actually had a decent preseason, but I just never thought he was a fit in what they were trying to run scheme wise. He's more of a
neither did I, but hell, when you watch him pulling all over the place, you're like, well, wait a minute, maybe he does fit. Right.
And so I think he's going to find a home somewhere. Solomon Kindley, you get him in the right place, he should be a player in this league, and maybe not even a backup. Maybe he could start somewhere in a specific scheme. So I just think that was a situation of he just was never a great fit for this new scheme. And, you know, he probably was running an uphill battle throughout. So that's probably it from there. I don't know if there's anything else that really has surprised me. Some people might say Sony Michel, but
I would have kept Good over Eguavon. I mean, for
well,
me,
so they're different positions though. So Eguavon is an inside backer, and so and Eguavon has like is like, and I know it doesn't translate to the regular season always, but he always has an amazing preseason. It's hard to cut a dude after he like looks like an all-world linebacker in the preseason. So yeah, the thing about Good was a 7th round pick, but that also says something about the depth of your roster that you're able to cut draft picks. That wasn't the case last year. You kept a guy last year in Jared Dokes, who I don't think was one of the best 53 players, but he was a draft pick, so you kept him. This year, he was one of the first cuts. And so, same with Larnell Coleman, same way, kept him last year, one of the first cuts today. So these are guys who, when you become better, your 6th and 7th round picks have a harder time making the roster.
Yeah, so, I'm with you there. Are you are you hearing about any kind of movement out there trade wise?
I haven't heard much. I know they were trying hard to trade Preston over the last week. They didn't have any biters there, so they kind of moved on from there. There'll be a lot of
back. It's kind of odd somebody would want to trade for Preston Williams.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see guys trading.
Like when I hear they're trying to trade for Mason Rudolph, I'm like, why?
No. A lot of times you'll hear that when guys are trying to jump the waiver claim spot. Like if it's a team that, you got the 29th waiver claim spot, you think this guy is going to get claimed. Okay, I'll give you a 2024 7th round pick for me to jump. Like nothing of real significance. But that's sometimes you'll have it there. Sometimes if you're heavy on a position, you'll trade for another team that's lighter on that position. And it might be a guy that you're going to cut anyway, but you get a guy that you jump the waiver claim spot for anyway. So I'd probably anticipate maybe one of those trades if they get really tight at the end. But the one big thing I'm waiting to see is the Byron Jones decision. I haven't heard anything definitively. Mike McDaniels gave us the indication that he, is fine and he'll come off PUP, but we haven't heard official word there. If he does come off PUP, then, everything is as normal. If he doesn't, he misses the first 4 games, and I think that becomes a really dire situation for the Dolphins at cornerback. And so I think that's the last real big move that I think you'll see from the Dolphins, at least from what I understand today.
All right, good stuff there. Remember, you can follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe and catch his work there at the NFL Network. Byron Jones, we have till 4:00, right? And then we find out whether he goes to the PUP list or not.
Yeah.
What are you hearing? Because I almost get the feeling like he's going to be fine. The way they've acted, they haven't made any kind of moves. They haven't been flustered at all throughout this whole process. I keep wondering, what the hell is he doing behind the scenes that we don't know about?
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, if there wasn't so much optimism, I think this would be maybe the bigger story here. But like the coach is telling us, hey, he's fine. He's fine. I mean, I've seen him here. Like I've seen him here. He's walking fine. And I haven't seen any, like he's wearing pants, but I haven't seen anything on his legs. So it's not like this dude is like walking around on a wheelchair or got a cast on and we just, he's hidden somewhere. He has been here in the building and doing some sort of working out. He just has not been ready to be on the football field yet. And so, what we get an indication wise would tell me that it would be a surprise if he was not lifted off PUP. That being said, I was initially told when he got hurt that he would be ready for training camp. And so the fact that he wasn't ready made it a little bit interesting for me in that respect. So the shocker only would be if he does stay on that PUP list. I'd imagine that he does get lifted off and they keep it moving, or else what have they been doing the last month and not bringing in another corner if he's not going to be ready. So that's sort of my thoughts there.
Are you watching Hard Knocks with the Lions?
I am. I've been watching it. I think the new one comes out tonight, right? So yeah, I've watched the last few episodes.
I caught up with the last 2 last night. I hadn't watched episode 2 and 3. I watched them last night to catch up. What is the record for teams that are on Hard Knocks to get to the playoffs? There have been 17 of them. There have been 17 of them. I did my homework. What's the record? 17 of them.
You say how many of them made the playoffs?
Yeah, what's the record? 17 teams have been on Hard Knocks. How
I'd
many
say
have
so.
made the
Typically,
playoffs?
it's a bad team that's missed the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. So I would say maybe 2 or 3 of those teams have made the playoffs. So I'll say 3 and 14 playoffs.
7 and 10.
7 and 10. Wow, a little better than I thought. A little better than I thought.
How about this? Did you know the Bengals did it twice, and both times they made the playoffs?
Really interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. 09 and 13, the Bengals made the playoffs.
Right.
The freaking Jets did it in 2010 and made the playoffs.
Yep.
So Ravens in 01, Bengals 09, Jets 10, Bengals 13, Texans 15, Rams 20, Cowboys 21. Out. Cowboys 02, Chiefs 07, Cowboys 8, Dolphins 12, Falcons 14. Now they go on a run. Rams 16, Bucks 17, Browns 18, Raiders 19, Chargers 20. And the Colts this year started 0-1 because they did the in-season one. So they're 0-1 with their in-season because they choked at the end against the Jags and did not make it. But how funky is it that the Jets have only been on it once and they made it? The Bengals have been on it twice and they made it both times. And that's 3 of your 7 teams that actually made the playoffs.
Right. That's very interesting. So you're saying the Lions are going to make the playoffs?
I don't know, man. I'm just saying, you know. Well, I know if it was the Bengals, I would be, oh, look out, bro. That's right. If I don't know if the Bengals know this. I don't know if Mike Brown knows this. I don't know if the Bengal Nation knows this, but they should be clamoring to be on Hard Knocks every stinking year. They're undefeated. They go to the playoffs every time they're on there.
Yeah.
So I was like you too, by the way, and I asked Sean the same question, and he thought just like you, only a couple teams. Usually it's all crappy teams, but even the crappy teams have gotten some luck and have gotten into the playoff, except for us Dolphins. Yeah. Of course, our Dolphins, you know.
That was the Chad Ochocinco
Joe Philbin, picking up papers all over the place, and and Vontae Davis. I got to call my grandmother. Yeah. That was famous. All right, what are you working on at the NFL Network so folks can check you out?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go up to the facility in a little bit. I think they're practicing today. Also, we'll be doing some TV from 1:30 to 3 o'clock. I have a few Dolphin segments on there, so we'll be talking some cut days. We'll be doing a little bit of previewing of week 1 of Dolphins and Patriots. So that'll be action there, and I'll be here all this week with you guys.
Tomorrow we go in the locker rooms.
We do. Chris Greer talks today. Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel talk later on this afternoon about cuts, and then Wednesday and Thursday locker room is open. So back into the old days of the grind of the locker room. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. Yes, sir. There you go. Yes. So the locker room kicks in tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. All right, man. As always, appreciate you. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe, and catch him later on in the week. He'll show up here again with our KSDT CPA Miami Dolphins. And by the way, before I let you go, the Jimmy Garoppolo thing. Did you find that odd?
Yes, very odd. Does not give a strong vote of confidence for Trey Lance, no matter what they say.
Well, and it also tells me that Garoppolo, you know, that when that story that remember when he signed the contract, he disappeared for 2 months and didn't call the facility, wasn't calling coaches back, nothing like that. And so that impression that football's not nearly as important to Jimmy, that also tells me too. You know what I mean? Because, dude, I don't care if you're a reporter on the NFL Network. You want to climb the ladder, bro. Right. I don't care if you're in radio. I don't care if you're a lawyer. You want to be a partner. You know what I mean? You know, unless in life you have like no motivations to have any aspirations to, you know, to actually achieve anything, which that's usually what we call a loser. All of us want to get better. And for Jimmy to just say, yeah, I'm glad to being a backup. I lost my job and I'm willing to stay here.
Yeah.
That tells me that's a guy that really doesn't aspire to be great, doesn't aspire to want because a quarterback wants his own team, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's interesting because he's going back to a place where he took them to the Super Bowl not too long ago. And he was a starter last year with Trey as his backup. And Trey honestly hasn't done a ton to prove he's won the job, but he was the first round pick anyway. So it's like
3
maybe
first-round picks.
Exactly. So I guess my worry, and maybe that's why he was away from the team so long, how is the locker room going to react? Like, you don't want a situation where they're picking sides, like RG3 and Kirk Cousins, like, hey, I'm a team Jimmy, I'm team Trey. You want everybody on your guy. And so from the San Fran perspective, I don't know if I love it either. Like, I get the insurance, but you're paying a lot of money for a guy who, like you said, has not been around a lot. And there's always the risk that it's going to mess up, your young quarterback and your team. So, they clearly have a plan. I just don't see it.
It's weird, man. It's weird. Yeah. And by the way, that situation in Washington kind of reminds you what was going on in Miami, because it was the owner that wanted RG3 and fell in love with him. Yep. Kind of like what happened with Tannenbaum and Woody. They fell in love with Mark Sanchez. It wasn't the coaching staff that fell in love with Mark Sanchez. It was I don't know if you know the story. There's 13 guys at the head of the personnel department for the Jets that year for Sanchez. Okay. I know half those guys, so I know what went on. Mm-hmm. They all turn in their draft reports.
Uh-huh.
All of them said, don't take Mark Sanchez.
Okay.
Listen to me.
Yep.
All 13, the people you pay to do NFL scouting, coaching, putting everything together, they're telling you don't take Mark Sanchez. Mm-hmm. What does Woody and Tannenbaum do? Sure, guys, we love Mark Sanchez. We're going to take Mark Sanchez. Right. And they extend them and all that. And in Washington, what happened was Snyder fell in love with RG3. And RG3 was, RG3, he's a charismatic dude. That's why the transition to TV is seamless for a dude like RG3, because he's charismatic. Right. So all of a sudden now he falls in love with him. Shanahan didn't. Mm-hmm. Shanahan did not like his style. You know who Shanahan liked? Kirk Cousins.
Right. Yeah.
So and the same thing happened in Dallas. In Dallas, it was Gil Brandt standing up on the table saying, no, Jimmy, you have to take Troy Aikman. Jimmy didn't want to take Troy Aikman. Jimmy had bad experiences with him. He broke his leg at Oklahoma, all that other stuff. And he wasn't sold on Troy. Yet most of his scouting department was sold on Troy. To Jimmy's credit, he took Troy. He let Gil and all those guys, okay, you guys want him, great. But then he went and took Steve Walsh in the supplemental draft. Mm-hmm. And after he was convinced that Troy was the guy, he then traded Steve Walsh to Chicago. In Washington, you had a fight. And in a way, if you look at what happened to RG3 when he got injured and Shanahan then put him back out there again, and, that his career was over after he was haloti nodded. And so you kind of wonder, was that a sabotage job right there, right? To get his guy Kirk Cousins in. Here in Miami, we had owners going for Brady, a head coach that wanted Watson, and a front office that was set on Tua moving forward, but they're getting cock-blocked by the guy they hired and the owners. So you have this whole battle now. And so now the front office has won out because Tua's still here and the other things didn't happen. But it shows you in different cases what has gone on in the past in the NFL, and where you got to have everybody on the same page. But look how it's happened that at times you've had bickering front offices or bickering ownership and front offices, and it just creates hell for your quarterback situation. Luckily for Dallas, Jimmy was smart enough to say, and look in the mirror and say, I'm wrong. So you got to give him a lot of credit in that sense that he said, I'm wrong. They're right. We got to stick with Troy, and the rest is history. Now we'll see if it works out here, but you saw what happened in Washington, where it was just,
Yeah.
so discombobulated, that whole
Right.
situation. It's
Yeah.
the shit that goes on behind the scenes at times, and sometimes it doesn't air out right away, and we don't find out about it till later on, and then we wonder what happened in this situation. A lot of people don't know that Shanahan didn't want RG3. A lot of people don't know that Jimmy Johnson didn't want Troy Aikman.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. And then what we had here in Miami, where you had 3 factions of people going for quarterbacks. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Crazy shit. All right. I'll see you tomorrow in camp, my brother. I appreciate you.
All right. Sounds good, man. All right.
You got it. The Wolf Pack has been unleashed.